T minus 1 minute. T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Rock the world. Rock the world. With me, no worries, come with me. No worries, just come with me. No worries, just come with me.
Yeah, what's up? What's good? What's happening? Welcome to the King M.E show. I'm one half of the show, King.
Hey y'all, it's me, Michelle. How y'all doing?
And welcome to our live stream where we offer a real outlook on a healthy relationship. Real being relatable,
Entertaining.
accountable, and loving. Hey, I got you back.
I just blink. I do know why. Because the camera does need to come down a little bit. And I was
I
just
got you
looking at
back.
that. I'm so sorry. I love you. Thank
Like
you.
down like this or down like this?
Straight down.
Straight down? All right. So while I do that, babe, give us our marketing outlook real quick, like on
All right,
where
y'all.
we're streaming at and everything.
So we are coming at y'all live and live in color on these YouTube streets, on these Facebook streets, on X. We're good.
Okay.
And also through Perry Productions. So welcome. If this is your first time streaming with us, don't make it your last. Go ahead and hit that like button. That way it's not your last time. Come on and get in with us. We want to have fun with y'all. So you are welcome. How are you doing, babe?
Hey, I'm doing good. It's been a busy day. We've had a busy weekend, which we're going to talk about
Oh my gosh.
before we get into our main topic.
Okay.
But it's been tonight after we get done, I got to drop off something for my daughter, and then I'm going to relax. How was your day?
My day was busy.
Yes.
Like super duper busy. Like I'm tired just thinking of it. But it was good. You know, I don't want to complain because God is good. But sis is tired. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
All right.
This is me. Like, I'm tired.
But hey, shout out to Richard Bronco in the building. Said, "What's up, kid? Hey, let me give you a salute to you, Richard. Man, I appreciate you popping in."
And then we also have an SJ3 who said, "What's good?"
What's good, SJ3?
How
Hey,
tired.
so Richard said, "Hey, bye. Hey, man, I appreciate you popping in, Richard. If you hadn't hit the like button, man, mash that like button, and I appreciate you tuning in. Richard's been a supporter over there at WTF Nation Radio. We didn't have a sports show this past Sunday because we were traveling, and as a matter of fact, let's start with Saturday first. So Saturday, I assisted Michelle as she led a group of our nation's youth with a couple of other teachers to the National Museum of African American History and Culture. Did I say it right?
Yes.
And look, that's down in D.C. If you haven't been, it's a fantastic place. It was my third time going. Michelle's been there like a gazillion times.
I think I live there.
And the event went great. I thought that the event went fantastic. Look, I got enticed not to help enrich the young minds of tomorrow's future, but by the free food, which we had some chicken tenders from Giant Eagle. And y'all, let me tell y'all, there was some chicken tenders on steroids. All right.
Y'all, my kids are still eating that. I asked my one student today when she came into class, I was like, "Did you have chicken tenders?" She was like, "It was too much." So we ended up giving some to our neighbors. who were having a party, so we catered their party. I was like, Lord.
Yo, that's hilarious.
They were the gifts that just kept on giving. I love it.
But it was fantastic. It was good to see other people that were there too, learning. I overheard some people talking and having conversations about things that they were like, "Oh wow, I didn't know that."
Mhm.
So I thought that was pretty cool. And then so that was like pretty much all Saturday afternoon through the evening.
Yeah.
And then Sunday, Michelle and I, with our friend Joe, took a 5-hour drive to meet another friend of mine to go to North Canton, Ohio, to be background
OH.
in a movie.
Do you know how that saying goes?
Nope.
So one person says OH, the other person says Idaho. Like I.
See, that's why Ohio. No, I'm not going to talk bad about Ohio because the people that were in Canton were lovely. They were lovely. The people were lovely. And that's the only positive thing I'm ever going to say about Ohio.
No, you know what? I'm kind of jealous because the place where we were was a middle school, and that middle school had automatic flushing toilets in the girls' bathroom, and I am jealous. Okay.
I found out why.
Why?
It used to be a high school.
Yeah.
So,
but still, I don't have that in my high school.
Because the boys' toilets were also like the urinals were high. And I'm like, why are they having these high urinals in a middle school? No, it used to be a high school.
Okay.
But while we were there, we were background as part of a movie by Eddie McClintock, who is a famous actor, and he directed and wrote this kind of like biopic about his dad. Essentially, his dad passed away, and I thought that the story was a pretty good story. So this production company filmed it. They invited people to come be part of the background, and Michelle and I
hanging in the background. Yes.
popped up. We're crossing our fingers that we're going to be featured in a scene or two. Even if it's a frame, I'll be happy.
And even if it's not, you want to know why I won't be upset? 2 reasons. Number one, I got to be passenger princess. Okay.
Oh yeah, and look, you did your passenger princess duties perfect.
No, I'm gonna be honest with you. So if you were to go and like look up hashtag passenger princess does nothing, okay?
Oh,
Passenger princess is supposed to lay up, do absolutely nothing, and just sit there while her king drives, right? That's not me as a person. Me as a person, like I just wanted to sit in the back seat. Joe was like, oh, so you're not gonna sit like, chivalrous thing. Like he wanted me to sit up front. I was like, no, honey. I'm going to the back because like I'm comfortable. I can stretch out here. But no, I got to be passenger princess, just relax in the back. You had someone that you were having your main conversation with. I was in my own little world watching the Malcolm X something documentary, sleeping, watching the inside of my eyelids. I had fun. So that's one reason that I'm okay if we don't get featured. But the second reason why I'm okay if we don't get featured, let me show y'all this right here. You ready?
She got to meet Dean Cain.
Ow.
So he's a part of the feature and has a role in the movie. And as we were leaving, Michelle was able to catch a photo with him on the way out. I didn't even get the chance to get a photo. I did get a signed autograph picture with him. Well, we did. You got it.
I got that one, and you got the one from Eddie McClintock.
From Eddie. And they had asked who was the furthest that had came down to be a part of the background role. And I just kind of waited and was like, I'm pretty sure it's going to be us. And I was like, Maryland.
And everybody was like, wow. And we were like, yep, we really did. We really did.
And they thought we came for Dean Cain, but we were like, no, we're actually here to support a friend who's good buddies with the director and writer of the movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Hollywood, here we come.
Come on, I'm ready. I am so ready for SAG, okay? But, hey, I'm so ready.
I thought it was so cool because the way that you set it up, too, you were like, I got something to tell y'all, but actually, I'd rather not tell you. I'd rather show you. And right when she ended that statement, the picture came in, and I was like, yo, that is dope. So I'm glad that, we made the trip together. I'm glad that you came with.
Thank you for inviting me.
My homeboy, CQ, joked that you had impeded on a boys' trip, and for a second there, I thought you not perseverated, but I thought you thought on that more about that a bit. And I was like, no, babe, and I'm gonna tell you exactly what it was that I told you. And this isn't a heartless thing. I was like, if it was just a guy's trip, I would not have invited you. Just because you my lady, I ain't gonna invite you to everything. Let me just say that like that. I will not be inviting you to everything, right? It has to match like what's going on and things like that and opportunities. And sometimes me coming to something for yours isn't going to be the right fit and vice versa. That's how I feel. But if you have a different thought on that, please share.
Not at all. So I think I even said to you before we went up there, before we even got to the location, I was like, I'm just gonna hang out on the side because I was cool with not being in the movie. For me, it was the drive and that quality time with you. I could have cared less about anything else that happened during our actual time in Ohio. I just wanted to spend time with you. I was fine if I sat in the car and didn't do anything. Well, no, I probably would have needed to stand at some point. But I was fine to not be in it. I was fine to not be seen. I would have been fine to not even meet Dean Cain. Like, I would have been fine. The fact that I did is just a bonus. But for me, all that mattered to me was, hey, I got to spend the whole day with you and hang out and just go somewhere. So that was what mattered to me. I got what I needed.
Good deal. Good deal. So we have this game here. Let's get deep. Questions for couples. It's a game that Michelle and I recommend for people to just get to know each other. Ask questions that you may not necessarily get to ask because in order to have a real relationship with
I
somebody,
like what you did there.
you need to be able to communicate, but not just talk about surface level things or sex, which is what today's topic is kind of
Let's
about.
talk about
Sex,
sex, baby.
baby.
Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the
Did I
good
do that right in sign language?
No,
I
but it's
didn't.
okay.
Dang
Let's
it.
talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Can you turn on the heat though?
Really?
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
I
That's
just
why I'm
stopped sweating.
yawning.
I
That's
just
why I'm
you were
yawning.
yawning the last time
But
though.
because I'm also sleepy, but I'm cold, and when I'm cold, I get sleepier.
Okay. Get us our questions while I get us prepped. Shout out to Tarika in the building. Said I am here. What up, lady? Thanks for popping in. It was good chatting with you earlier this morning, and I hope the rest of your day went great. So there's 3 questions that are here. Oh, free tea popped in as well.
Hey,
Free.
G.
Hey, we got a party, y'all. We got a party. Let's start off with our icebreaker question for today. Free tea, how have you been?
All right. So, and this is for not just us, but also for everybody. So the first question is, what's your favorite flavor of candy? Shout out flavor.
Flavor of candy?
That's what it says.
May I see the question?
Yes.
Flavor of candy. Oh, cherry. Cherry. If there's any
That says
type
a
of,
lot about you.
if there's, if there's any type of flavor for candy, it's going to be cherry that I'm going to gravitate to. What's yours as I look at you seductively like this? Hold on. What's your favorite flavor of candy?
Meat stick. I'm sorry. All right. All right,
Really?
y'all. All right, so Sarika says apple. Yes, y'all. What's your favorite
Apple.
flavor
Okay.
of candy? So I like apple. I like sour apple better, but no, my favorite flavor of candy. It doesn't matter what the candy is. This is the flavor that I will gravitate to. Blue raspberry because it'll turn my tongue blue.
Because it'll turn. That is the weirdest reason somebody can have for picking a flavor of something.
Look, I will get slushies and Slurpees during the summer only because it's weird to get it in the winter. But I will get Slurpees and slushies, and the only flavor I want is blue. Give me that blue flavor
Okay.
because it turns your tongue blue.
So Tarika said apple. I like it. I don't hear too many people say that their favorite flavor of a candy is apple.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not mine. It's sour apple is my favorite. My other favorite.
Okay. Let's bring up the deep question here.
What's your guilty pleasure?
Oh man. What is my guilty pleasure? So
While you think about that, Free T said that she likes mango flavor things.
That's new.
I like that.
I've never heard that one either.
I like it.
Hey, I like it. I like it. My guilty pleasure. So that's defined as something that you like to do that you do unabashedly, no matter who sees it or anything like?
The opposite.
Okay.
So it's something that you do that you don't want like other people to know because you feel like they may judge you for it, or something you do, something you watch, or something like that that you're afraid like people will low key judge you for. So you like to indulge on it, but you kind of keep it to yourself.
If you have one, say yours, because I'm gonna have to think about mine.
All right, y'all. What's your guilty pleasure? So my guilty pleasure, it's new. Okay.
Okay.
My guilty pleasure is I actually really enjoy Love is Blind and Married at First Sight.
Ooh.
I just started liking those things because they're on Netflix now, even though Netflix is doing me dirty by piecemealing me these things. Give me all the shows at once, okay, Netflix? I'm a big girl. I can handle it. But they're piecemealing it. But I like those shows. Like, they're fun to watch and get caught up in, like, what's happening and just see what the world is like. And then there are low-key moments where I'm watching them and I'm like, I wonder if King and I would have matched with one another.
I think we asked our question.
We have.
Like, asked that question.
We have, but
Yeah.
still, every time I watch it, I always ask myself that question. Like, I wonder if King and I would match.
Okay. Oh, free t-shirt Cheryl.
Look.
We gotta talk about Love is Blind.
Look, I was just talking to some of my coworkers earlier about season 6 of Love is Blind because there is, and this isn't spoiling anything by saying it, there's a middle school principal on there. So real quick, before you answer this, I say middle school principal. What age do you think?
That's 6th through 8th grade. So however, the
principal.
Middle school principals, they're like 40 and above.
This guy just turned 26 on the show.
How?
So that's what everyone was asking. But number one, they're in North Carolina. And two, he's at a charter school. North Carolina doesn't have teachers unions. And their rules and regulations are a little bit wonky, especially in comparison to Maryland. So it's totally possible. But look, everybody was all up in the chat talking about the same thing. Like, he's 25. Because when the show first started, he was 25. They're like, he's 25 and he's a principal? Yeah. So that long comment, Free T said, why did I know you was about to mention him? Yes, because that's the only thing that I can really talk about that's not giving away anything. She said, I did my research and he's a product of Teach for America. Oh, okay. That explains
Is that some type of academy where...
Yeah, it's the program that...
groom?
Yeah, it grooms you for that. And you add that coupled with the fact that... he is in North Carolina. Yeah.
Okay.
Because here in our district, you only have to teach for 2 to 3 years before you can become a principal.
Oh, that ain't... I don't know.
So wait. You mean to tell me you have only been a teacher for 2 years and you about to go be somebody's principal?
Well, what's your background before that, right? While you may not know the intricacies of teaching, if you have a management style background,
that's different. I will say that is 1000% different. But what we've seen in most districts is people who become principals, their background is education. Like, that's all they've been doing, education. But I don't want you to skip the question because we got some guilty pleasures rolling in.
So my guilty pleasure is I don't know. I'm trying to think of what's that. Oh, well, I do this morning funny video where I like to wake up and before I do anything really, before I get out of bed sometimes, I like to find a funny video to start my day off.
Yeah.
Lately, I've been watching like cat videos, like animal videos, or just dogs or cats, really, and just like how stupid they are when they do stuff or see stuff or whatever.
Is that why you've been sending me the little parrot that talks and stuff like that?
That was one of the reasons, because I guess the algorithm's starting to catch it. That's one of my guilty pleasures, is animals doing silly things. So that's been a part of my morning funny, is watching videos like that. So I guess that counts as a guilty pleasure.
And Tarika says she likes Chicago Med and Grey's Anatomy. Look, I like Grey's Anatomy too 30 years ago when it first came out. Look, it's time for that to retire. Okay?
I still watch Grey's. I am a Grey's fanatic. I like the Chicago series as well. Part of my Friday is watching the videos on Hulu for the Chicago series. I do Fire, and then I do Med, then PD. So that's the order that I catch them on Friday mornings and Friday afternoons.
Respectfully, Free T, you know we're gonna have to know what this is now. One of her guilty pleasures is watching death experience documentaries. Okay, sis.
I'm going to say a very generalized thing that's going to get me canceled, and I don't care. Y'all ladies should be studied, because it's the ladies that typically like death and murder mysteries and what's that, the first 48 and all of those
She
things.
said near death. She had to clarify. She said near.
That still falls into that category of the like macabre things, right? Like
What's wrong with
like
it?
the Dr. Pimple Popper stuff.
First of all, Dr. Pimple Popper is that show.
See?
Okay.
See what I'm saying?
Look, I have a cyst on my foot now that I'm so sure Dr. Pimple Popper could have worked this thing out.
Fellas, I know y'all with me. I know y'all with me. Do y'all be rocking with the macabre and Dr. Pimple Popper stuff? Let me know. I know I don't.
Ain't nothing wrong with it. Ain't nothing wrong with it.
We got one more while the comments come in. Ask us the deeper. All right.
Oh, okay.
Tarika said, I like Fatal Attractions and For My Man. I'm not familiar with that one. All right. I'm ready.
Oh, you're ready. Okay. If you could script, so this is for everyone. If you could script the basic plot for the dream you will have tonight, what will it be?
Easy. I finish this live stream. We kiss each other goodnight. You go home. I wake up because I have a lottery ticket that's in rotation. I check my numbers and find out that I have won. I screw all things that I have scheduled for tomorrow. I call up the Maryland Lottery Commission. I set up my appointment. They're like, oh, Mr. Smith, we can get you in today. So I say, okay, great. I call my job and I say, I quit. I drive down with my signed ticket in hand, have my appointment. I cash it out. Notice I said we. I didn't say we. I'm doing this.
I was going to say, I don't hear no we.
Without you initially, right? Initially. They do all the things. I come back. You say, babe, I know what's about to happen on Wednesday of this week. Tell me about your day. And I just say, oh, I won the lottery. And you go, oh, okay, that's great. Because you know me. That could mean I won $5. And then I say, hey, why don't you go ahead and quit your job, because we're flying to Greece and plan on staying there for about 4 months. And then you're going to be like, wait, what? And then I'm going to be like, you heard what I said. And you're not going to know whether to believe me or not. So you're going to say, okay. And then the dream ends. So that's my script.
Let me tell you, if that were real, the only modification I would make to that dream is that I have to get the key from my safe deposit box so I can go get my passport, and then
Yes, ma'am.
we do this. Okay?
So how about yours?
All right, if I could have a script for a basic plot for the dream that I will have tonight, what will it be? I'm so basic. Like, I really am sometimes. It's the simple things in life. So,
You want a year's supply of whatever your favorite ice cream is.
no, it would be something like I could eat that year's supply without it going straight to my thighs. But no, it's funny because when Castle and Cassie were over the other day and I was doing Castle's hair, we were talking about water beds. So now low key,
Okay.
don't ask. Low key, now a part of me is just like, I want to be in a waterbed. So I feel myself like drifting off to sleep, and then I'm on a waterbed. And then as I wake up and now I'm floating on like a raft in the water, and I'm enjoying the breeze of the day, and it's beautiful. Like the sun is shining on me, and I'm just like drinking this virgin drink in my hand, and I'm just floating and enjoying the Grecian waters as they're just like all around me. and then you're nearby, just
Okay.
having fun. We're sunbathing.
At least. Now, look, I'm going to be very honest with you. I didn't say anything about my script because you're here. Like, I really, like, for example, this past weekend, I enjoyed spending Saturday and Sunday with you. I want you to know that. We have fun together. I think if you're going to be with somebody, like, Michelle and I don't have a lot of similar interests, but we do have culturally a lot of things that
We
you and I
have a
both
lot of
like.
similar interests.
Really?
We have
You
more
think so?
similar
Like,
than we have different.
I agree. I agree. And with that being said, like, I enjoy the adventures that can allow us to have. Like, for example, right? There were other people that had showed up to that filming that had been a part of the film that occurred the day prior.
Yeah.
And some of the production that production company is from that city, so they've done other background work because that production company does a lot of stuff in North Canton.
Mm-hmm.
But so like I saw other couples that were there. Next to us was somebody that was probably in World War One. I shouldn't have said that. He was old. He was a veteran. His wife was old as well. But they were there together. They didn't really say a whole lot. All right. But that couple showed up to be a part of that movie. I don't know if they were there to support somebody or if they just wanted to do something. But I wouldn't mind if we, 90 years old, just doing stuff together. I don't. We do stuff separately, right? Because I believe that we have a nice cadence to where we don't suffocate each other, but we also don't live together. Maybe
Yeah.
that changes. Maybe that's the secret. Maybe we don't live together.
We spent a week
I'm just
together
saying.
over Christmas, and we survived, and we about to spend some time together starting tomorrow night.
Yeah.
All right, so did you see what Free T says?
No.
Her plot is Taj gets married to the love of her life.
Ooh.
Ooh, I like that. I signed up to see that movie.
I would too.
Speaking of movie, did y'all see that 50 series show?
Who the F did I marry? I was gonna include that in the title too to make sure that we did talk about it at least. But let's do that at the end.
Okay.
Because y'all, who the F did I marry on TikTok?
We
We'll
got
just give a brief thing.
questions.
It was a synopsis of a lady just talking about how she had a COVID marriage essentially. But she gave all the tea on what happened, what occurred, and I, as a logical thinking dude, I'm like, I got questions. How? Because the lady seemed like an intelligent lady. So, but the way she got hoodwinked and swindled, if y'all seen it, stay tuned because after we get done,
we gonna talk about it.
we gonna talk about that. We gonna talk about that. So, Michelle.
Yes, sir. Hey, baby.
Whew, today's topic.
Can I show off my foot gear before we get started?
Do that.
I don't know. Can I? That is a good question.
Look at those air slings.
Y'all, I got issues. Okay. I'm having surgery on Wednesday. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I'm having surgery on my left foot because there is a cyst on my foot.
So why is that on your right foot?
Oh, I got you. So I'm having surgery on my left foot because I have what's called a ganglion cyst, which typically don't appear on the feet, but hey, if life won't happen, it happens. So I have a cyst that has to be removed. It was really painful over the summer, and it's on the top of my foot. Doctor doesn't want it to do anything bad, so we're surgically removing it on Wednesday. So the question is, why is this fancy contraption on my right foot? Because on my right foot, I have plantar fasciitis. And
no longer self-diagnosed.
No longer self-diagnosed plantar fasciitis. So I need to put this night splint on, ironically, not at night, but when I'm relaxing so that my foot can sit in the position that it needs to help alleviate the pain that I experience from the plantar fasciitis.
You're like a regular old Mrs. Potato Head.
Broken altogether. And I say that as I get ready to head to the chiropractor tomorrow.
All right, well, hey, look. As I've said, and I mean this, I'm not just saying this for the cameras or whatever. If you need anything from me, holler at me. Let me know. I got you. At the best extent that I can. I can't just hear you. If I can hear you by laying hands on you. My bad.
You went to church yesterday.
My
Now you don't know how to act.
Wait. Oh yeah.
Super C is in the building, y'all. Hey, Super C. Thank you for popping in.
Hey man, I appreciate you popping in. He's gonna come in. He's gonna give a thumbs up. He's gonna say one or two things, and he's gonna be out. But I always appreciate when the homie shows up. So today's topic: sex and the X.
Sex and the X.
How much and what do you talk about when getting into a new relationship with somebody? How much do you get into someone's past?
What's your body count?
Let's talk about it. Do you remember when we first not like the first time,
Yeah.
but when we really where were we at?
I don't remember where we were, but
Baltimore.
Oh, we were?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we were in Baltimore.
I consider it was that restaurant by the pier, by the water.
Okay.
Like we broached the topic.
Oh, when we went to Cheesecake Factory?
That was a Cheesecake Factory?
Yeah, that was Cheesecake Factory?
Yes. I think that's funny. That was the first time that we seriously talked about past stuff to where we were paying attention. Because prior to that, I don't think we were dating then.
No, I don't.
When we kind of broached the subject, but
no, because we didn't start dating until October, and it would have been kind of chilly that day. So no, I don't think we were dating. I think we were just friends.
Okay, so
that's my friend.
So that's when I remember us kind of being like, so past sexual, stuff.
And I remember so desperately wanting to ask you what your body count was. And I think I may have even said that.
You did.
And you said you were not going to tell me.
I said, I ain't saying nothing.
Yep.
And it's two reasons for that. A, I wasn't sure how you might react to it. And then B, I didn't want to know yours. Because I'm like not to compare, because people talk about things or whatever. I'm not a jealous person. So it's not like I'd be like, well, hers is higher than mine and I'm going to feel some type of way. You could have said 200. I might have paused. I might have paused for a second and tried to do math in my head like, how? But for me, the question about a person's sexual history speaks more about their mindset, in my opinion, right? Yeah. So I'm going to stand by this wholeheartedly. I don't think you can ever know a person's true count.
Okay. Why?
I think people have a shame in saying that number, whether they think they're going to be judged if it's too high, too low, or if you're a virgin and you just haven't, right? I know of people that are over 30 that are still virgins. They're waiting on marriage and things like that. There's nothing wrong with that. What's interesting is that people get into new relationships and I think you're expected to have an understanding of like sexual health. And then it's also important that you are able to match. I didn't say match. You have to have an understanding of the other person's sexual history as well, because as long as you're comfortable with where you're at, you don't necessarily have to know things to be sexually compatible with somebody. You just have to be sexually compatible with that person. Because, and this is something that I was going to say for later, but I'll say now, you could have I'm just throwing out a high number. You can have a 100 body count, but that don't mean that because I've had 100 partners or people that I've had sex with, that you and I are going to be sexually compatible together, because what works for us works for us. What worked for me and somebody else might not work for me and you, or I'm going to say will not work for me and you, because it's about how compatible we are. Yeah. So we've talked about it, and I think from what I can recall about the topic when you and I had brought it up, we brought it up, I think, as a way to measure how willing we were to at least talk about that subject in general. Because we say in a relationship, it's finances, how well y'all can communicate with each other, sexual compatibility, and I feel like I'm missing something. Finances, sex,
I'm telling you, I got
communications.
ADD like I don't know what.
Well, those are the big three. Yeah, essentially, those are the big three. When you're reading, I was on Reddit today, and people were talking about, oh man, I haven't had sex with my husband or wife because it was varying for 4 years, 5 years. There was one that was 7 years. And what was interesting about the 7 year person was they were married for 8 years, and she said in the last seven, my husband has not touched me. My husband has not been intimate with me because they got married, they had a kid, and she said since we've had the kid, we've only had sex one time in the last 7 years. And she's like, but he's perfect in every way. I
Have
don't know
you
what to
initiated
do.
that?
And so in that particular post, and I was gonna like have the link and include it because I thought that it was very relevant to what this discussion was. Um, she said that they had been to counseling and they would try things, but then he would lose interest and he would say that like he loved her, but she's like, but we're not even like being intimate, like in no way. And it was long and there were a couple of other things, but this topic for new couples is one of those things that, in my opinion, there's not a one size fit all solution. You just have to communicate with the person that you're sitting across from so that you can figure out what's going to work for you, what's going to work for y'all. The measurement and the talk about past people and past experiences, earlier I said speaks to the mindset, right? I'm going to tell you that if I would have heard from you. So look, I'm just gonna be like this. In my 20s, I was whole hopping. I might not have been comfortable with continuing a relationship with you because while you're in your 30s, I don't see a lot of people that come from that have good, healthy relationships moving forward. Because to me, just the mindset doesn't add up. So that's my take on it. That is my take on it. What say you?
So number one, Sean's home.
Yes.
That's what I was thinking the whole time you were talking, and that's why I'm like, that's all I could focus on.
I told you. You were busy with thinking about us, but I said Sean's coming at 7:30.
I didn't hear that.
What I didn't tell you was I was moving my car.
Yeah,
but
that's why I was thinking about it.
But oh yes, no, I already moved the car.
Oh, okay.
And went and got the mail.
Oh, that's
yeah.
what you do. You get the mail.
Hey, I do things.
Yeah, no, I had work stuff. Y'all, sorry, my mind is like all the way distracted today.
So what's your thought on just sex and the ex, knowing body counts and things like that?
So the only reason I ever wanted to know body counts was not to say, oh, well, let me compare his sexual history to mine, but it's to see how many spirits you were entangled with.
Talk more about this, please.
So I believe, and you could call it someone, the thoughts of someone who grew up in the church, but I believe that when you have sex with someone, you are spiritually connected to that person. Like you're connected to them. Whomever that person has had sex with, you have now had sex with, especially if there was any, God forbid, any diseases or anything that passed from one person to another, then you are now like connected, like you operate differently. Whatever that person taught you, good or bad, you now bring to the table, and you get that with every single person that you've been with. So that person that you lost your virginity to, they taught you how to have sex. By the time you went to person number two, hopefully you were a little bit more skilled than you were with person number one, because person number one taught you something. So then maybe person number two introduced new positions to you. By the time you get to person number three, you're taking the lessons that you got from one and two, and you're bringing that to three. You bring a little bit of each person that you've ever been with to the next person that you're with. So for me, it was always wanting to know the body count, not to compare and see, oh, well, let me see if he's been hoeing around all these years. It wasn't to see that, but it was to see how much of a past am I getting when I get with you. Like that was always my thing. always my thing.
My 2 cents on even just hearing that, I understand what you're saying. Following that, the way that I think about it though, guys don't bring past stuff with them.
Yes, you do.
I think women do.
Yes, you do.
I don't think
No,
guys do.
Both do. Both do. Both 100% do.
I wish we had different cameras so I could just be like boop and then be like boop. Cause no.
You didn't learn anything from the women you've been with in your life?
All right, so besides like from the first to the second, right? So the first is like, all right, I know we've had sex ed, but like P is about to go in V, like how does this work? You know what I'm saying? Like,
and by the time you got to 2, you knew how to do that, right?
Yes, but
so then you learned something from 1.
But past that point,
okay, what did 2 teach you? 2 taught you something.
I wouldn't say so.
Somewhere along the line, wherever your number is, because I don't want to know, someone taught you stuff that you were able to carry on to the next one.
I don't think that's how that works.
It is 1,000% how it works.
I think that depending on
have you learned something from every job that you've been at?
Every job required a different skill. Like every relationship requires different skills.
But also, likewise, from every single job, and even including your 2 days at Applebee's or 1 day at Applebee's,
a day and a half
at Applebee's, you have learned something from every single job that you have ever had. Likewise, you get something from every single relationship and sexual relationship that you were in.
Mm-hmm. What do y'all think?
Well, one person said it makes sense, so there we go. I win.
This is not how this works.
Majority.
This is not how this works.
This is how this works.
Oh, I know Super C got some thoughts on this. Here's the thing. The guys are the one that's doing the entering.
Right. And I get it from every other like standpoint possible. You would say you like one of the references that we always make is an outlet, like a wall outlet, right? Wall outlet gets something plugged into it and then something happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at it, if something is wrong with the wall outlet, something can happen to the plug that's being plugged into it.
This is true.
So men get impacted from sexual relations just as much as women get impacted from it in a different way, an equal but opposite reaction. We are both impacted by sexual intercourse.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes. There, in every single thing where something is put into another, there's always some level of interaction where someone gets something that the other person, like there's a share that's going on. I think men think that because they're entering a woman that nothing is happening to them, something is, because if that woman has vices and everything else going on and her spirit is 100% disturbed, then boo, you putting yourself in that situation. You can't just put a sponge in water and it's going to come out dry. That don't happen.
Michelle.
Yes, sir.
That is not how this, no.
This is how this works.
When we're typically seeing issues with how sex affects people, more often than not, it affects women harder than it affects men.
And I'm not disputing that. What I'm saying is you use keyword harder, not only.
Giggity. Sorry.
It impacts men and women. It's just men maybe are more resilient and they don't show it as much.
I changed my statement. It has less of an impact on men.
But still an impact nonetheless.
But still a minimal impact, yes. Minimal.
But an impact nonetheless.
Okay, yes. Because, I really don't like to deal in absolutes. There are some things that are absolute. In this case, I am agreeing and saying that there is not an absolute, that there is an impact, but it is a slight impact. Definitely more impactful for women than it is for men.
There's got to be something that continues to allow men to do the things that they do. And then there's some men who are like, I'd rather pay for it because they think that it's easy. You still get addicted to it. There is not one man on earth who has ever had sex and is like, oh, I'm never going to do it again. No, you got that feeling and you enjoyed it and you want more of it. No matter where you decided to seek that pleasure from. Thank you.
Tarika's called a spiritual soul tie. She's talked
Exactly.
about this on one of the other live streams that I've been a part of.
Because it's a thing. It's like no man has ever entered someone else, I'm gonna just put it like that, has ever entered someone else and said, sex is nasty, I'm never gonna ever have it again. Like for the rest of my life.
Okay, here's how I can say that it can be impactful. I believe that some people do get to a point to where they go, why? They ask themselves why. Like, why did I just drive 3 hours just to...
Because you had it once and you want some more of it. Even if you didn't have it once with that person, you had it once, you got a taste for it, and now you want some more.
But my
Soul
point,
ties.
but my point is that they then have this thing where they go, you know what? I'm not going to be led by this.
Some people can make that decision 100%. That's how you get monks and nuns and priests and stuff like that, because they have made the choice to not live and be defined by it. That doesn't mean they don't get the urges. Those urges are still there because that's a part of our nature and our human being. Like that is the desire for intimacy and to be with someone is not a sin per se. Lust is a sin, yes. So lusting after someone who's not yours, or wanting to be with someone who's not yours, or only wanting like that sexual thing. Okay, yeah, that is. But in general, we do long to be with other people, and sometimes you lust after what you just can't have. So, yeah, people who make that conscious decision, okay, no, I'm not going to do it, that doesn't mean that they don't get urges. That just means that they do something else when they get the urge.
Okay. I think that you and I both agree that talking about body count or bringing it up or even asking it shouldn't be asked. But when it comes to new couples and this topic of sex and your past, what are some appropriate things that should be brought up, in your opinion?
Number one, literally, are you carrying anything from your past relationships?
That's mine
You
as
carrying
well.
any pitneys?
Number one.
You carrying any diseases? Like, are you carrying anything from your past relationships?
Mhm.
Definitely something that needs to be discussed. Is there a possibility? And did you terminate anything that had come from a previous relationship?
Ooh.
And here's why I say that that's a question that should be asked. Like, were there any pregnancies? Were there any almost pregnancies? And were there any terminated ones?
Yeah.
And the reason why I ask is because there is still a connection there. That still tells you a lot that you need to know about the person. And there can be emotional baggage that's wrapped up in that would impact a current relationship.
I don't think men ask that question because they're afraid to ask it.
I remember you asking me, and I think you were probably the only person that I've ever dated who's ever asked me if I've had any almost pregnancies. And honestly, I don't know your motivation behind asking, but I think part of the reason why you asked me is because I was 35 when you met me. So like a 35-year-old who's never ever been pregnant and never even had a scare of pregnancy seems a little bit weird. So I think it was one of those, you're 35, have you? Like, or not have you, but how many have you had? Type more so along that line. How many have you had?
And let me tell you why. That, again, it's a mindset thing.
Yeah.
Right? If you've had one and had it terminated, for me, I'm okay with that. If there had been more than one terminations, that's a mindset thing that lets me go, oh man, as I'm trying to build my life going forward, to me that says irresponsibility.
Right.
And I don't want to have that connection, so I would not have pursued or had anything go further, because you could have said that was when I was 19 and 24, and I would have been like, and then, that was over 10 years ago, and I still would have been like, don't care.
Yeah. Because it really is. You know, I am going to say that the systems are flawed. So, respectfully, for some people, there was easier access to termination than prevention. Um, Easier access to uh, putting up for adoption than getting preventative care. For some people, that's the case. And was the case. I'm not going to, deny that in any way, shape, or form. Plus, for a woman, that preventative care alters your body in every way, shape, and form. And some people actually just don't want to have anything to do with it. So, okay, termination seems to be a little bit quote unquote easier. I'm not saying it is. I am not saying I support it in any way, shape, or form. I am saying that it's a woman's choice because it is her body. But I think that that's where some of the logic comes from. Like, it's easy. It's easier than the alternative. It's not, but I think that's what some people are saying.
So Free T says something here. I was wondering if you could read that because I can't see it.
But how is that your business? What she did or did with her body before you? Just curious. Maybe some don't want to share that info. Then what?
Then this relationship's done. Thanks Free T for asking that, because what I was going to say, because I didn't even know that you were going to go the termination route when we were talking about STDs, because I was going to ask how early in talking with someone do you talk about this stuff. If you're casually dating to see if there's any compatibility there before you like take it up a notch, then I think the STD thing is a fair question. The termination question can be something that you use as a vetting thing, in my opinion, before being serious. Like, not like date number 2 or date number 3,
Yeah.
but before, whether you're somebody that, for religious reasons, you're sex until marriage or whatever, you should still have the conversations about STDs and stuff. Because, especially, like, I'm almost 40. You're right behind me. It's one of those things that I would have met her and assumed she had never had sex before meeting her, unless she flat out said, I'm a virgin. That's a completely different level of getting and having a relationship with somebody if you haven't had any sexual history in the past, right? Um, but knowing that before you, Free T, speaks to the
It speaks to your character.
it speaks to how responsible you are. But here's my take. You talked about access to sexual stuff or whatever. To me, you learn stuff in most cases, unless you live in an undeveloped city, you have these type of things that you're taught in school and things like that at an early age, right? By the time you're 18, you should have an understanding that if I put P and V, skeet, and you get pregnant, a baby can form. Or there are some chances of STDs occurring, right? If you do that more than once, where you have more than one termination, I'm wondering, how are you not considering consequences of the actions that you're taking? And you can say, well, that was me a decade ago. I don't care. I don't think people fully learn from certain things that have big consequences like that.
Well, so I'm with you, and then I kind of not a little bit. So to answer Free T's question, I feel like it matters to an extent because it does talk about your overall level of responsibility and discipline. Like, it should not be a birth control method. If you were struggling or you feel like, okay, every time there's a P and V, there's a B that comes out, then maybe you just shouldn't put P and B. And we won't get to that point. And that requires a level of discipline. Because if you can't put birth control on or use some type of birth control, then that tells me that mentally there is something going on with you that prevents you from taking preventative care for your body and someone else's body. Because that can be that's emotionally devastating to some people. So there's that. And then where I disagree a little bit, and this is where I'm going to kind of challenge you, King. You said a couple of episodes ago that if cheating happened a long time ago, should you, before, like, so person A and B are together, and person A had cheated decades before they got with person B, should person B still, like, hold that previous cheating against them?
Okay.
And we said no. So if you have two people who are together and there may have been one or more terminations in decades before, it shouldn't be held against them anymore because they probably really have grown past that. Now, if it was like last year, that's something different. But if there's some space in between the time when that happened and the person that they're currently with, time for maturity to happen, like if our allergies can change every 7 years and our food palette can change every 7 years and 8 is the year the number of new beginnings, then maybe at some point we should be able to look past what someone did in their youth, the indiscretions of their youth.
People that know me, if you can throw my own logic back on me,
hit them with the knowledge. Bam, bam.
It'll make me reconsider some things. I have a
Sometimes I be listening.
In my head, I have a rebuttal, but it's not fully.
I know you have a rebuttal.
It's not fully
but in the
formed
meantime,
yet.
I'm gonna hold on to what Free T said in the comment. Good example, Michelle. That's what I'm saying. Just asking for grace on behalf of women in our bodies. Oh, please don't get it twisted. I believe in a woman's choice. 100% believe in a woman's choice because you don't know what a woman is going through when she makes that decision. And not speaking for every woman in the world, but some women don't approach that decision lightly. Some people have to make that decision after much prayer, tears, and consideration. So I understand that women don't make that decision lightly. However, I will say that there is a very, 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 very small population for whom that is considered birth control. And that's not okay. That is not okay, especially when there are other legitimate areas, especially including abstinence.
My brother's in the building. I don't know what part he's responding to, but he said hanging out, baking cookies, watching movies, and everything is cool. That's cool, just as long as it inevitably ends in greasing season.
Okay.
So Richard Bronco, I think he disagrees with something, or either he agrees with something. But so there's a bit of a time delay, y'all. So
it is a time delay. So I know earlier he had said, I'm ahead of you, King. And then he said, it should be up to the female, in my opinion. And then something that we recently said, he said,
okay.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
And then Free T is agreeing that it definitely shouldn't be used as BC. And unfortunately, that's where I disagree. I'm just like, it really shouldn't, and some people do. Not everyone, not speaking for the entire female population or male population, because sometimes it's not the woman who is prompting that, but sometimes it is. And that's where I'm just like, no. Abstinence is the best form of birth control if that's the situation.
Is there a checklist, right, that you would say needs to happen before you take a relationship serious? Meaning, besides STDs, terminations.
I've actually never asked anyone about that. I'm going to be very honest.
Ooh.
I've never asked anyone about that.
Okay.
I've asked if they have kids.
Okay.
I've never asked, did you almost have one? Like, I've never asked that question.
Okay, cool. Ask me.
Oh, you want me to ask you
Yeah,
right now?
ask me.
Have you ever had an
We'll be in-
almost?
No.
Okay.
No, that's easy. We should be able to be transparent with each other, and if we're doing this right, we talk about being relatable and being
I'm sorry.
accountable.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So anything that I share with you, I wouldn't mind, you know, saying in front of anybody. You heard me and Joe have some. You heard a bit of guy
Did
talk.
I hear it though? Like, that's the real question.
Okay.
Did I hear it? Because
Okay.
because Passenger Princess was in full effect. I was in the backseat in my own world.
That's
So
fair.
did I hear it?
That's fair. I've also mastered the ability of minding my business. Like, even if I'm 2 feet away from somebody, but I'm not a part of the conversation, I've actually mastered the ability of I ain't
I
part of
teach
this.
students all the time, so I'm learning.
Yeah.
I'm growing.
So
But no, honestly, with y'all, it was just like
so
this ain't me.
so we were essentially having guy talk with you in the back seat. We talked about a lot.
I was not paying attention.
Okay.
In my world, I had television, I had grapes, and I was chilling back there. I was watching like this Malcolm X thing documentary on Disney Plus. I was back there writing, I was sleeping, I was scrolling social media, making content, stuff like that. I was busy. I was in my own world. I wasn't paying y'all any attention,
Okay.
which is why every time y'all had to say, "Hey, Shell, did you hear that?" And I'd have to be like, "Huh? What you say?" Because I wasn't paying attention to y'all, respectfully.
Okay.
I was like, "That's not my business." That's why I wanted him up front, because I wanted y'all two to have that time.
I think, and this is the way that I think that it should be a requirement before you first have sex with somebody that y'all both show up.
First of all, so free tea. This is where I am with like all these dating shows. Like, so it's my guilty pleasure, but I'm like, before y'all start kissing people, did y'all do STD tests? Like,
I think that they have a health code that they have to do. I don't know. I think I told you that I applied for one of
yeah.
these shows afterwards. Now I didn't get picked, but in my head, I'm like, I'm pretty sure because we talk about legal and liability stuff that they're not gonna do a show like that where
Like, I know
adult
COVID has
relations
been
could happen.
yeah.
And they don't do a full panel testing on these people.
Because I'm just like, that's too much. I thought about that the whole time that I was watching Who the F Did I Marry? Like, but sis, did you ever get a CD test on him? Because I'm big on that. It doesn't matter if anything will ever happen. I am huge on that.
So Free T said that she had applied.
Oh, thank you. Oh my gosh.
Okay,
You don't know how you just blessed my soul by telling me that they do ask that question. So now I can stop thinking that every time I watch them shows. Like,
Yeah.
I just wanted to know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Like, legally, I would think that if they didn't, then I'm like, then that would be why this world is jacked up in some places. But no, I'd assume for legal reasons that they do all the things.
So I just want to highlight something that Richard Bronco said a while ago. He said the back door is the best form of BC. I knew you weren't listening, but I knew you would hear me.
Before I finish that, hey Richard, I appreciate you, man. He said that Pop Culture Warriors on there, and he's gonna say, "Look, hey, I appreciate you popping in."
Thank you.
I was with Pop Culture Warrior over the weekend, and he was a part of the reason why we were able to be background in the movie. But hey, man, I appreciate you even just
tell him we
tuning
said
in.
hi.
Yeah, tell him that we said what up.
And I'm that Superman. Just throw it in there.
So one of the Reddit things that I read, somebody had said that as well. It was somebody that was like, "Hey, my lady doesn't want me to use birth control because she's allergic. I know that there's other stuff out there, but I don't like it. What other forms of birth control do we have if she don't want to go on anything?" And somebody said, "Go back door." And I was just like, "Yo!" I actually commented and said, "I think that's BS. I think she's trying to trap this dude and get him pregnant." I said, "In the relationship." And y'all, I'm on Reddit, King Smith 02. I don't post anonymously on the advice that I'll offer somebody. What I've discovered is this, right? So we're having this conversation. Our analytics say that most of the people that watch us are closer to our age, right? Yet still, relationship stuff, what's interesting about it is, life revolves around what you do and the relationship that you have with other people. Sometimes I've learned that people in their 30s, it might be first time experiences for them, or they may not be comfortable on how do I approach something. Also, don't let somebody else, like I'm pointing at her, but not, imagine she's somebody else. Don't let somebody have put you on an emotional thing because you bring up something and they don't ever answer the question, right? Some things are uncomfortable conversations. And we had a live stream where we talked about having uncomfortable conversations and things, but they need to be had. If you bring up something about STDs with someone and they dodge it, that's them not being hot, honest, open, and transparent. Shout out to the Real Precious. And I would posit, why would you want to spend money, time, energy, and attention on somebody who's not going to be honest and open with you, right? You should be able to have some uncomfortable conversations about sex with somebody and have a back and forth about certain things. I think it isn't anybody's business about the number. I don't think that the number truly matters. Anything past one, congratulations. Yet, if you use your eyes, I think that you can observe that in women, if it is a really high number, those women tend to not function well in relationships long term. So I would tell a male, if you happen to have an idea that it might be a significantly high number, I would say do not form a relationship. Prime example, if you are watching the news, there's been several adult film actresses that don't make it past the age of 40 because they have turned their own TV off or overdose with drugs and things. And I'm like, I don't think it's really the lifestyle that causes them to have
It's the
drug
soul
addictions
ties.
and things like that. Yes, but see, that's proving my point though. It's not adult film actress men that are turning their own TVs off. It's the adult film actress women that have the most impact by the high number. I think a guy can sleep with 200 women and still function as a monogamous guy if he chose to go that route.
But he wouldn't.
And be fine.
But he wouldn't though. The higher a male's body count, the higher a man's body count, the less likely he is to commit to one woman. Why? Because he knows that there's so many different flavors. Why I gotta choose one flavor when I know that there's so many that exist?
That's true.
Then he can't even spell monogamy.
But okay, so let me take that out. My point still being that he can still make a better logical choice about things and not have the added stress of I've been entered 200 times and I have to take cocaine and fentanyl and whatever other hard drugs that people are taking these days to feel better about themselves. Actually, that's a good question. I don't know. We'll strike that from the record. YouTube, this is a productive educational conversation, so don't ban us for using those words. So that's my point though. You don't see it being adult film actress men that are struggling. You see it more women.
But the other thing to notice is that some women don't enter that field willingly. Not all, but some women do not enter that field willingly. Meaning someone else forced them to do it. And if someone else forced them to do it and they'd been in that position for a really long time, then yeah, I can understand how that would happen.
What's the percentage of that though? That's a minute percentage.
You'd have to look at trafficking.
take trafficking out the pit.
But
Like,
that's what I mean by force. Like,
okay,
that's what I mean by force.
all right. There was a conversation that somebody was having about feminism, and this person was self-identifying as a feminist. So the panelist was like, "Okay, why are you a feminist?" And she said, "Well, I believe in women's rights and things like that." And she said, "Okay." She said, "So let me ask you this: are women's rights not here?" And she was like, "Well, we did, but there's still like work to be done." And the panelist was like, what work?" And the person struggled to answer. I heard more from this, and what I found interesting was the panelist said somebody can make the choice to show their behind on cam, and thirsty men will spend $5 a month just to see that person's behind, and that person's making more money showing their behind than the person that laid the concrete for the roadway access for the people to show up to that college to get there. And she was like, "So you really think that women have more work to do in this world?" And just like
I would say yes.
she said, "I would argue that it has never been a better time to be a woman with the access, rights, and things that women have right now." And let me finish. I agree with that. For example, I'm a veteran. We have veterans advocates that fight for veterans things and stuff like that. I don't think that like, oh well, we've arrived, so there shouldn't be people that are advocates for women's issues. There should be advocates for that kind of stuff. So I don't think that it should just go away. But I think that too many people focus on the wrong parts of it, and they don't even know what being a feminist is, to be self-identifying as a feminist.
However, I look at it as if a woman has to sell her body, has to, not choice, but has to sell her body in order to make the income that a man can make working in white collar America, then that's a problem.
That is not a problem. That is a woman that is choosing, in my
No,
opinion.
I said has. I'm very intent about the word that
But
I'm
what do
saying.
you mean by has? They're making a choice to do that versus going the route that somebody else
what?
went by taking the application.
I have two master's degrees.
Mhm.
Two master's degrees. Not one, but two. I have poured so much into my college education and everything that I do. And I don't make as much as you do.
Mhm.
Respectfully. And I'm talking about taking the serving of our country out of the equation. I don't make as much as you do because my profession does not believe that we are valued enough to be able to get us that amount of money. And when you look at my profession in general, there is an overwhelming amount of women in the profession. I'm literally sitting at a table today trying to come up with some male teachers to recommend for something, and I have 4 that I could come up with. I could sit here and rattle off the names of at least 30, 40 women who do the exact same job that I do, but I struggled with coming up with 4 names to recommend that were men. What I'm saying is women have to do a lot more to make the same amount of money as men, and some women choose to sell their body or parts of their body in some capacity to be able to get that money that a man can make just the same way, or if they were just in a different field. And again, I made the choice to be in this field. I did because I believe that there was a greater purpose and a greater calling that I had to go through. But in a profession where it is overwhelmingly women, the fact that someone in my position who maybe doesn't have 2 master's degrees, would be making half of your salary or less for like same amount of experience, like that's crazy. I heard someone say to me today that he is 17 years in education and makes $90,000. 17 years in education and makes $90,000. How many years have you been in your field?
12.
And that's not what you make.
You have the knowledge. If I told you right now, Michelle, you qualify to make what I make. Go apply. Would you leave education?
For me, it would take a lot to get me to leave education because I recognize opportunity costs. Like, I'm not dumb. I recognize opportunity costs in general. First of all, I do have my summers off. I mean, granted, I fill my schedule with like everything possible in the world. I recognize opportunity costs.
So there's my point. The opportunity is there. You have the qualifications to make more by changing your
But that's what I'm
current
saying.
career path.
I have those opportunities because I have 2 master's degrees. But I'm saying that some people do not have those options. So when they have to turn to something like that, where they are using their body as a commodity, something to be bought, sold, and traded, that they don't have the same options and availability that other people
They
do.
They do.
That's what I'm saying. They don't.
They do. How do you not see this? They do.
Because if selling your body is the only commodity that you can think of, and I say that in many respects, I'm not just like thinking of the standard ways, but I also look at some of our people who are in the industry, the music industry and stuff like that, and acting industry. Some of that comes with a lot of selling who you are, like using yourself as a commodity to be traded. And if that is the only way that you can make money, then there's a problem with that. So yeah, women, this is a great time for us to be able to make money however we choose to. But let's not get it mistaken that some women are more, I don't want to say forced, but I'll say coerced into making their money that type of way. Because if I am an 18-year-old young lady and I see path A where this person has gone to school, got a bachelor's, went to a HBCU. Okay, shout out to Morgan State University. Got her first master's, worked in her field, got her second master's, and is making X amount of money. But then there's this other woman who's over here and doing this. My choices are going to say this is the more lucrative option. And because I'm liberated and I can do whatever I want, this is where I'm going to choose to go.
We have to parking lot this. I think this is a topic for a future conversation because it's a little bit off topic, but it is interesting. I'm curious if we've had any comments as we've gone on this little tangent.
Well, Free T was on my side. She said, "Talk that talk show." Like, she put it in all caps. Okay. And then Whitney popped in and was like, "Preach." Okay. Hey, sis, I missed you. How are you?
Hey, I need for the fellas to start pulling up. Fellas, what? Super C.
And then Free T said, "But if there were more men, they would make more, no doubt." And then, we got a round of applause and some yes up in the building.
Fellas, pull up.
They're on my side.
Because this is me telling you, you do qualify to make as much as I do if you were to leave education.
I will also say this.
And you've got the experience and the certs and the stuff to do it. Just
my
saying.
heart is in helping people. So even if I did what you did, I'd have to do it for a nonprofit.
By helping your bank account, you can help people, Michelle.
Like, that's why I gave up the Wall Street dream and ideal that I had, because I like helping people. I love finding solutions, but I love helping that person who gets, like, I absolutely love working with individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. I love working with students. I love working with that population of people who, they get on my nerves like 90% of the time, but the other 10%, like, I love them. Like, I love being in that capacity. And that, to me, as stressful and as exhausting as it is not as difficult as working with entitled adults. And I'm just going to call a spade a spade.
Do you think that you see enough relationships out there where one person helps support another person's passion just for them to screw them in the end? This is anecdotal a bit, but I had just heard about Tim Duncan's first wife and how they were high school sweethearts. He did not leave college early so that he could stay an extra year and be with her because he already would have been like a top draft pick. He did not take an extension to a larger market to leave San Antonio to go to, I think, the Orlando Magic because she had something that she was doing, so he sacrificed doing that to stay in San Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
He did all of that sacrificing for her to follow her passion, just for her to embezzle money from their foundation and also sleep with like his bodyguard or somebody that was like associated with him. So now people that are thinking about being in relationships where they might have or they might choose to support someone are wondering if they're going to be doing this sacrificing to support somebody just for them to screw them over in the end. Let's table that one too, because it doesn't necessarily go.
That is a prime example right
title.
there of my saying that men carry stuff from one relationship to another. That just goes to support my point on that. Men do carry things from one relationship to another. And that's how we get all these podcasts and live streams that we have now, because men are taking things from one relationship to another. And I am all for, like, you know, women kind of going borderline back to, you know, that biblical figure of, you know, taking care of the home, being submissive. I am all for that. Men being the head of the household. I want accountability for everyone. And there needs to be a level of accountability where we realize that both men and women take things from their sexual experiences with one person to their sexual encounters with another person. You do.
We're going to be spending some time together this week as I help nurse you back from surgery. Let's keep this conversation going because you said some stuff that I'm like, oh, I disagree, but I can't fully explain why.
And then I do just want to say, Free T said that we know that we qualify for these positions. We are very much aware of the fact that we do qualify for the position. However, there are so many other mitigating factors that prevent us from being elevated at the same rate or with the same look and concern. Like, respectfully, let's look at these presidential elections. It doesn't matter how qualified a woman is, Republican or Democrat, they're not going to put a woman at the head of the office.
Did you hear the one joke about that? I forget who it was. It could have been Dave Chappelle, Sinbad. Nah, it wouldn't have been Sinbad because that would have been off brand for him. But somebody said the reason why we'll likely never see a female president is because if she's premenopause when she's on her period, she might just press the button to launch the nukes just because. If she's postmenopause, the same reason still applies. It's just because. And I'm just like, yikes. I didn't say that. That wasn't a King Smith joke.
But that's what I'm saying. That's exactly it. Like, women, they don't want women in certain positions. So we know we qualify. We know we capable. We know Hillary was capable. We know Kamala is capable. And it pains me with every single part of me to say this, but even Nikki Haley is probably very capable as well. But the point is, women. Shirley Chisholm, beyond capable, and was not given that opportunity. There are plenty of capable women.
Freezy said, King just proved why we are not equal, by which comment?
The joke that you told.
Wasn't the joke. And he said, that wasn't my joke. I heard it and thought it was funny, but I find humor in it. Oh, speaking of just random humor, Miss Pat, I wish we need cards so that we could give our cards.
We do need cards. We also need to put a flyer over at B. Anderson.
The flyer will be at B. Anderson's before this week is over. The cards will be printed out by Wednesday night.
I love you.
So there was this lady, shout out to Miss Pat, older white lady. She was talking with us as we were sitting in the stands. And she had moved her purse or whatever and accidentally like grazed the small of my back. And I turned to Michelle and was like, Michelle, Miss Pat just got handsy with me. And this lady turned red.
Wait, her face turned red.
Her face turned
Yes.
red. Let me tell you. And she like was like, no. She was like, I already know that. I was like, Miss Pat, we just playing.
I was like, we joke a lot. Like, just forgive us.
We just joking, Miss Pat. So I don't know, because I did mention that you and I do. Because she said like y'all seem very comfortable, like being and just talking and.
Well, if she'll know us
stuff.
now, she'll know us later because we about to be celebrities up in these streets, okay? But we promised that we would come back to who TF did I marry.
Oh yeah, so let's do that and close out because you got to go home.
Okay, yeah. So who the F did I marry? Without giving away any spoilers, because you can get the synopsis from anywhere. So homegirl, who goes by the name Risa Tisa, posted a 50 plus special, and I say special, on TikTok about her ex-husband, whom she describes as a quote pathological liar, end quote. And she states many, many times that she is not a licensed therapist, psychologist, or anything like that, that she did study psychology and that this is her belief. She believes that a pathological liar is different from that of a compulsive liar, and that a pathological liar lies for absolutely no reason with no remorse. So she goes through and she has this 50 episode special about 50 plus episode special about her ex-husband. And I'm gonna be honest, for the first couple, well, no, throughout the whole entire series, I remember thinking, oh man, he really is a liar. Like, yo, just lying about big dumb things. Like,
Things that didn't make no sense to lie about.
But then on the flip side, because the A in real is for accountable, she made a lot of choices that she should not have made. And this is something that I know we'll talk about on this series, but you can't make choices out of a place of desperation and think that they're going to work out well for you.
Also, I don't know if I never, apparently there was photos of the guy. People found out who he was.
Oh yeah, his photos have been circulating.
Okay, I haven't
He's also disputing some of this too.
I haven't seen those yet. Is he a handsome guy?
Like, he ain't look handsome to me. Like, I seen them pictures, and yes, I said seen. I seen them pictures, and I was like, I know that's not the guy we talking about.
And I understand that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? Beauty is subjective to the person that you're asking.
Free T was like, no, all caps.
Some stuff is universal, in my opinion, but it still depends on who you're asking. Okay, because in my head, because she talked about how he was 6'3", 6'4",
but desperation
and a former football player. So he claimed he was a former arena football player. So in my head, I'm like, okay, this was probably a 6'3" chocolate brother that was able to manipulate this lady.
But again, I say desperation makes anything look good. If you were navigating the Sahara Desert and you've been wandering for weeks and weeks and weeks and you were dehydrated and thirsty, that first glass of water that you see is going to look real good, even if when you get to it, it's nothing but water from the salt sea. Like, it's going to look real good. That don't mean that it's good for you. Hey Pete, there were many, many, many things. Like, she went into, like you said, a COVID relationship, moved old boy into her home 2 weeks because COVID hit, after 2 weeks of knowing him, because COVID hit, and she essentially didn't want to be alone.
The part that got me in the early part was what she said, I know he was lying. And she gave him an out. He lied on the out, and she still moved on. There were several parts in the story as she was telling it where obviously it's hindsight being 2020 for her, but as we're listening to it, I'm like, you had many gated checkpoints that you could have said, I'm done with this, and you chose not to. I don't care, Michelle, about her choosing and being desperate. At some point, I'm like, I'm not saying she asked for it.
Because no one asked for pain and suffering. However,
but now the next man is gonna have to pay for what she
All y'all
allowed.
men are paying for what she allowed.
Yes.
All y'all
Yeah,
paying.
because
Because I called you and I was like, baby, I'm going to need you to show me some proof of this government job that you got. I ain't never seen you talking to nobody. I'm going to need to see some proof.
and that's my point.
Let me see your social security card.
Hey, I'm a W-2 employee. That's all I'm saying. Have you looked into your social security account lately?
No, probably not.
So when we have our deep dive financial discussion, because
Mhm.
one of the things that we've talked about is that if you're going to choose to be with somebody on a real level, and you should go through each other's credit report. So Michelle and I have a date in the future where we are going to pull out that credit report, and it better align with the stuff that we've talked about. Because if it doesn't, I am going to hold to the thing that I talk about and say, you lied. We can't do. You thought I lied the other day. The concert.
I didn't think you lied. I thought you forgot.
Oh well, yeah. My bad. Yes, you did not say that I lied, but you did challenge me on something because I told you that
And
the first.
respectfully, I waited until Joe was out the car.
That was dope. By
I
the
held
way.
it for
Yes.
4 hours. Lord knows I can't hold nothing. I can't even hold water.
So we'll close the show on this. Michelle and I had went to the 50th hip hop concert that was in Baltimore, and it was dope. LL Cool J, Queen Latifah, Rakim, and I had said I had never been to a concert.
You said you had been to one concert. It was the same person. Well, you had been to 2 concerts. It was the same person, and you
Jake
just saw
Nova.
them twice. Yeah,
Yep.
that one I can remember her name.
Yep, Jake Nova. It was like, but then even then, it's like a smaller venue, more intimate performance. So is that a concert?
Yeah, that's still a
Okay.
concert. I remember that distinctly because it stood out to me. I was like, dang, this is the man who's been to like 30 countries, and I've been to more concerts than him.
Mhm.
And I am a introvert. I am a homebody.
And I love music, but going to concerts were never my thing because I'm like, I'd rather see a performance unless I really like the artist. And I love Jake Nova. Jake Nova's a beautiful voice. I've seen her twice. She's awesome. So that was my first hip hop concert. But then I had talked about how I had been to this rock fest that featured Asking Alexandria.
Mhm.
And I was telling this to Joe because I know Joe knows who it is. I like the group, yada, yada. So Michelle waited till it was just us to be like,
5 hours, y'all. 5 hours. Y'all know my memory sucks too.
So initially I was kind of like, well, no. I was like, that was like my first like concert type deal, yada, yada, right? And then later on, after I done showered, we done got back, and I'm sitting in the bed. I'm like, ooh. I was like, what's the definition of a concert versus like a festival? I've been to several festivals, like Summer Jam, Music Fest, and things like that, and Rock Fest.
Here's the question, y'all. How many of you believe that a festival is the same thing as a concert? A festival in which you go and listen to musical performances. Put a 1 if a musical festival is the same as a concert, and put a 2 if they are 2 different things. So, okay. You want to play this? All right. Put a 1. Put a 1 in the comments if a music festival is the same thing as a concert, and put a 2 if they are 2 different things. So, I will say this. I thought about it, and respectfully, I was like, this isn't something for me to talk about around Joe, because this is between me and you. Like, that's not something that I need to bring up in front of him. But on the flip side, I was like, but I thought you hadn't been to no concerts besides that one person. And I couldn't remember her name to save my life. But yeah.
Okay. So what? Free? No.
So in response to your comment where you were like, when we look at our finances later on this year, if it doesn't align, look, I've been very honest with you. The only thing I can tell you is that my student loans, it's above me now. I give that to the Lord, okay? I give my student loans to the Lord, and I'm just like, this is you. Jesus died on the cross and paid for all my sins, including this. Then that's where we at, Jesus.
And let me be clear, it's not about a number or anything. Like, for example, if you would have asked me, hey, have you ever filed for bankruptcy? And I said no, but then my credit report shows that I have filed for bankruptcy.
That's a lie.
I've lied to you.
Yeah. Oh,
You
no,
know
I
what I'm
haven't
saying?
lied to you.
Yeah.
I've been very honest with you. That them student, but I'm telling you, when you look, understand this. When I look at my credit report, I don't see them student loans because I've given it to Jesus. So I don't care what TransUnion and Experian and all them other ones are saying. I don't care because I've given it to Jesus. That's out of my hands now. That's the song says, all in his hands. I put it all in his hands, meaning it's out of mine. And in my mind, it's off of my credit report. So technically, I haven't lied to you.
So, yep. So that's what I meant is, as we're talking about that, you know, it'd be more if there was something that was said that then the report's like, but that ain't what this report's saying. That's when I'm like, abort mission. And you should be the same way too. If I would have lied about something and it's clear that, well, that ain't the case, then what else am I going to lie about?
Here's the thing about me, and I say this in all sincerity. I told you 3 things that I won't tolerate. And I said a man who lies, a man who cheats, and a man who does drugs. And the biggest reason is I have a horrible memory. Like really, really horrible memory.
Right.
But when I feel like someone has lied to me, I remember every single detail of every conversation we have ever had. It is a really uncanny ability that I have, but I will remember every single thing that you have ever told me, and I'll pull all of that back just to see like where was the first lie. So when I looked at Risa Tisa and Who the F Did I Marry, I'm like, no, I would have gone back to the very first thing because that's how my mind works.
That's how a lot of
Again,
ladies'
I'm
minds work.
forgetful, but I will remember because I keep tabs open. All these tabs are just open in my mind. So no, I would have remembered and I would have ended it like right there. Plus, she was also with a narcissist. Like, if what she was saying was 100% true, you're with a narcissist. And that, to me, trumps being with a pathological liar. Like, but to an extent, you stayed.
Okay.
There was no physical abuse because I get it, getting out of a physically abusive situation is different. There was no physical abuse. You saw the lies and you chose to stay. You made that choice.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, look, that's our live stream. We went longer than normal today, but the conversation got good. It got good. All right. So we've talked about how we created our moniker, and our moniker is offering a real outlook on a healthy relationship. Real being relatable,
Entertaining,
accountable,
and loving.
We think that if you have that mixture into your relationship and you start with that as a foundation, then you have the opportunity to build something that you and the other person can rock with. All right. So we hope that we've done that today. We hope that by just sharing our thoughts about various conversations that you can take something back to think about. For the people that offered something in the chat as well to this conversation, thank you. All right.
Thank you.
We believe that having these type of conversations, relationships have been happening since the beginning of time. Yet the reason why people are still talking about it is because we haven't necessarily mastered it. And not like my relationship with you and things isn't going to be based off of past relationships. I agree that there are things that you take that you bring forth into your current relationship. Like I'm pretty sure that there are things that I do that you recognize occurred because of past relationships. And I'm like, well, yes, like
yeah, I recognize them scars.
yes, and I'm not, and I am saying that I know that they're there and they're there for a reason.
A wounded person moves differently than a person who has never been wounded before. And
Because he ain't a fool.
No,
'Cause
I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about like moving from that type of stuff. I'm talking about in general. You move as someone who has been wounded, and I'm not talking about defensive moves. I'm talking about protective moves, protective of
It's
your
the
heart
same.
moves. No.
Yeah, no.
And this
Defensive and protective is the same.
In this case, I'm looking at defensive as, oh, I'm gonna block you from ever like putting me through that financial and emotional stress. And no, in this case, I'm talking about protective of your heart. Like your heart was wounded, and that's where I see you moving as a wounded person.
I'm gonna tell you my moniker. Ain't nobody finna get me. King Smith will not be got again. I got once. Never again.
Moving wounded.
I love you.
Love you more.
Do you know what we're talking about next week?
Apparently this.
Something.
Part 2.
We can't extend this because
not necessarily a part 2 on that, but just like some of the other things that we delved upon that we can just like go deeper.
I bet. Well, you make sure that our chief executive producer puts that into our show notes.
Yeah, because next Tuesday I don't have to go to work because I'll be home nursing my foot.
Okay. If you're watching this on a platform that has a like button and you hadn't hit the like button yet, please hit that like button. Thank y'all for tuning in. Appreciate the comments. Free T, Richard, I saw P. We saw, who was the one
We
earlier?
saw Super C, SJ3.
SJ3.
Tarika. Everyone else who popped in, thank you so much. Don't forget to hit the like button from wherever you're watching this. Don't forget to share it because we have so many good things. And if you share it, make sure you do hashtag who TF did I marry.
Yeah, do that.
So it can go out there a little bit. God, we love you. We want to be able to come and offer these opportunities to you for you to be able to grow, do the things that you need to do. That's who we are.
And one more time, y'all. She met Superman.
You can hate me now, but I won't stop now. I'm just throwing that out there.
All right. If you're new to our show, we end our show with a kiss. The last 2 times you came to me, this time I'm gonna come to you, baby.
Because I'm a little bit broken.
I'm gonna bring these lips to you because you got the thing on your foot. You were like a wounded bird. Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all. Love you.
Love you, baby.